What's going on, everyone? We hope you enjoyed your holiday weekend and are ready for a great week in the market. Of course, the crypto side of things is still going very crazy right now, but there's also a lot of other things happening in the market as actually the S&P 500 quietly broke its all-time high on Friday, even with the early close. On top of that, there are more big earnings and economic events on the lineup for this week, and there's some serious stuff going down in Syria. Overall, we have a lot to talk about today, and there's some pretty awesome opportunities shaping up for the week. So besides that, Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, we're going to definitely be talking about a lot of the stuff going on in Syria and the Middle East, as well as crude oil in just a minute. But over the weekend, Bitcoin is still moving in a pretty crazy way. At least other cryptos are as well. We can go to the daily chart here, and you can see that on Saturday and Sunday, there has been a little bit of movement out of Bitcoin. And even more specifically, if we go look at XRP, we've seen some fantastic movement out of this one, especially yesterday, where it had another great move, and it's almost to the $2 mark here, which would be pretty great for XRP to see in the short term. But the main thing is just that the cryptos are still running wild here, and even some of the lesser or less popular ones like SHIB, we'll say, Shiba Inu is up 19% right now on Sunday and actually just broke its recent high. So we're seeing some great movement out of these over the weekend, Mike, and I'm guessing it's going to be another fun week here for cryptos and the crypto stocks, but I'm getting worried about Coinbase and MSTR though.
That's the thing. So we're definitely seeing some great action out of the meme coins, and Bitcoin is still holding up in a great way as that is right around the $97,000 to $98,000 mark. So let's still keep a very close eye on stocks like MSTR, COIN, MARA, and others because, crypto in general is still hot, but we are definitely seeing a shift more towards the meme side of things. But either way, crypto will definitely be worth keeping close on the radar for this week. But some of the, craziest breaking news right now is actually some of what's going down in Syria. So basically, for those of you who don't know, there's been an ongoing war in Syria since 2011 with the Syrian revolution. Basically, over this weekend, rebels in Syria reignited that civil war, and that has been mostly calm since 2020 because there was a ceasefire, but these rebels have now actually captured the second largest city in all of Syria, which is Aleppo, and stuff is going down in a not good way. Right now, the current Syrian government controls about 70% of the land, but the way these tensions are shifting certainly isn't a good thing, especially all of the other craziness that is already going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, and we've been hearing about tensions across the entire world a ton recently, too, with Russia and Ukraine again, deploying those weird bombs a couple weeks ago or last week. That was pretty insane as well, and things are definitely picking up, and I'm starting to think that there might be a bit of intensification here ahead of Trump actually taking office, right? I know Trump definitely has power before he really does get in office too, but at the same time, we got to keep in mind that there's a lot of stuff starting to pop off all here at the same time, and it's definitely getting me watching oil very closely in the short term. We've been watching it a ton over the past couple months, and Mike, this support is still holding up right around $65 to $66. I know it's tested the lower range of this multiple times, as we can see here, 4 touches already. It might even be going for a 5th touch here, but I'm going to be watching this closely. If we can start to get crude oil and see it start to pop back up, there can be some great moves out there with Oxy, ZOM, BP, CVX, and even some ETFs out there like GUSH, which will pop up with oil as well, being an ETF. But Mike, it's a crazy time out there, and there's gonna be some crazy opportunities with some of these. I am worried about that crude oil support, though. We'll have to see how much this region starts to pop off.
Yeah, oil has been stuck at this lower support level for what seems like ever now. So we'll see how this event shakes things up a bit. But yeah, oil will definitely be worth watching very closely. Even some gold stocks potentially as well with ticker symbol GLD. Of course, Bitcoin is always on watch for, geopolitical situations, even like this one. So it will be very interesting. But in terms of more immediate catalysts for this week in terms of stock movement, we have another exciting earnings lineup as well, which should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's quite a bit here. So on Monday, we have ZS reporting after the market closes. And then on Tuesday, we have CRM or Salesforce, OKTA, MRVL, which is a chip stock. So watch that. Box, which we've talked about a little bit recently as well. And then Wednesday, Chewy, which is one of our favorites, Dollar Tree. We also have American Eagle, ChargePoint mixed in there on Wednesday. Thursday, Lulu, Ulta. So there's definitely quite a bit going on here this week, Mike. Even like DocuSign and GitLab. I know that there's no NVIDIAs or anything like that, but Lulu will definitely be one that's on the top of my radar, as well as Chewy, which I think could get extremely interesting here, especially considering that we're getting into like Black Friday and everything. But I know that Chewy hasn't had the best charts, so seeing them coming back would be nice.
Yeah, Chewy's definitely going to be my favorite earnings stock of the week. The stock has been doing pretty well over the past couple of months, but when you zoom out, that's when things get pretty scary. But, as we look at Chewy, they've been in a great uptrend, but they do have some pretty strong resistance right here around 36, which is certainly a concern. I'm hoping that they could blast through this resistance, but realistically, I'm not too hopeful of that. This is a stock I own for the long term and would be happy to buy more of if it dips enough, but either way, I really like the way it's currently been moving, and I'm hoping that this bullish trend continues for many months and years to come, but it'll definitely be an exciting one for the week.
Yeah, it'll look a lot better if the earnings do go well for that one. And then, of course, I mentioned Lulu as well, which has been pretty crazy in the short term as well, considering how much that they've dipped. I know that this stock was doing extremely well at the end of 2023, and now it's dipped down quite a bit in 2024. So they need a good report to kind of get themselves to get back up, maybe to fill that gap eventually over the next couple of months as well. But let's go. We have earnings going on, Mike, as well as another speech this week from the man, the myth, the legend himself. But I do want to say it's not necessarily a speech, but on Wednesday, December 4th, he is going to be having a moderated discussion at the New York Times Deal Book Summit. So watch out for that at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time in the afternoon on Wednesday. And there's also quite a bit on the economic schedule this week as well.
Yeah, so our man, Jerome Powell, will speak this week, but it won't be the type of speech that everyone loves, which are the interest rate decision speeches. But like Tom said, Wednesday at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time is the time to watch for that, and we even have some other exciting economic events on the schedule as well. But Tom, one thing that we haven't talked about yet is how the S&P 500 officially crossed above the $6,000 milestone. So what's pretty cool is that, this technically happened, you could say in the middle of the month, but when we look at the data associated with it, we can see that major milestone achievements for the S&P 500 tend to be a pretty good thing. As we could see by looking at some of the most data that stands out to us, like that 6-month time frame, whenever we see a break of a milestone, the stock market tends to do even better going forward. That 6-month time frame especially stands out, but whether you're looking at the 6-month time frame or the 12-month time frame or even the 1-month time frame, it's generally a pretty good thing for markets. If anything, in the short term, it can have a little bit of like a momentum effect where like it just makes the movement bigger in either direction, as we see on that 1-month data set, where we do have a couple times throughout history, like with the milestone of 2,000 and 3,000, where it brought in a little bit of bearish momentum, but we could see it wasn't all that intense, and it clearly didn't last very long by looking at all the data. But the main takeaway is that, the market broke a milestone, and this is normally a pretty good thing.
Yeah, and one of the funniest parts about that 3,000 milestone back in 2019 is that even though it was the worst 1-month reading here on these big milestone hits, when we got to the 6-month, it was actually the second best. So it turned it right back around. But this is actually some pretty good data here and shows that the market can continue with some good strength. I know a lot of people are probably watching this right now saying, oh my gosh, we have to reject. There's going to be some type of sell-off. There might not be right away. I'm very concerned about whenever Trump gets in, maybe some of those tariff things, right, might start to scare some people. But we'll see what the market does whenever that stuff starts to hit the fan a little bit. But very interesting data here. And I know, Mike, whenever we look at data like this, it gets me thinking about December, right? Because we're at the very beginning of December, and December itself is historically a pretty good month. It's only been the worst month of the year one time on average since 1928. That's like like 95 years of data, only one time December was the worst month.
Crazy. So yeah, December's normally a pretty strong month, which is great to see because that is a pretty big stat. Like, with, let's just say, nearly 100 years worth of market data to only have one time where it was the worst month is a pretty good thing to see. And the worst month this year has been in April. So, and that wasn't even that bad. It was like a 4% drop, I believe. So, we'll see what happens this December. But one thing that is, pretty good to see is that historically, Decembers tend to be pretty good in election years. We could see, looking at this data here, we have the market performance broken down into election years, the past 10 years, past 20 years, and even since 1950. And with everything being said, December normally is pretty good. So I have some hope for this year.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Election years were great here. And I know some of this data hasn't been as accurate this year because October ended up being fantastic, right? It was supposed to be a negative one, but November ended up being pretty fire, and hopefully we end up seeing December follow off of this good price action, right? It's a good thing whenever we start December up around highs and highs are breaking. So there could be some good momentum as these highs break and as some of these stocks start to move. And there's been a lot of tech stocks that are starting to recover up pretty well, like Apple, which also just hit an all-time high. I know that we'll talk about that one soon, but this is very important for the SPY because some of these stocks getting up towards highs and also breaking out is a great sign because they're going to help the market. Microsoft is another one that has been kind of flat lately, but it's been coming up over the past couple of weeks and trying to get back towards resistance.
No doubt. And, when we look at the market, of course, we can look at all these great bullish stats and, it's easy to get very excited about them. But let's remember that ultimately the most important thing to do is to adapt to continuously changing market conditions and, just to do that day in, day out, because that's your job as a trader. You just have to constantly adapt to changing market conditions and not get too attached to any one bias. But as we look at SPY now, Tom, we are at all-time highs, so the skies are pretty clear right now. What do we have in terms of the major levels and analysis for the week?
Yeah, I have a couple areas marked on the SPY chart here, and overhead there's a huge supply zone right around 604 to 605, and generally around every $5 mark on SPY to every whole dollar mark, we see that holds up as pretty good resistance. So I'm going to be watching 605, and we are in uncharted territory, so that's important to keep in mind. The main thing is following the momentum here on SPY. If we rip up and 605 ends up breaking, you might have to follow the momentum up rather than playing like a rejection there. So just keep that in mind. But that's what I'm watching overhead. As far as support or demand zones, we'll say, I'm definitely watching 600, but 601 to 601.50 was the recent all-time high. So I'm really going to watch that range now as a major demand zone or area of support over this week. If we break under there, I'll be watching for 600, 599, and then 597 underneath. So that's what I'm looking for there on the SPY. I really want to see it hold, though, above $600. That would be a great thing to see for the week.
Yep, that will be important. So good stuff there, and we will keep an extra close eye on SPY because it has been running in a great way, and it has some very important levels very close to it right now. I would say the most important level being that $600 mark because it is a giant psychological level, and it has been a key pivotal point. So yeah, let's keep an extra close eye on that. The more it can hold that level, the stronger it becomes. But besides that, Tom, let's get right into some setups and predictions. A stock that is close on my radar right now is Apple, and it is to the upside. This stock has shown a lot of relative strength in the short term, as Apple has been one of those big tech stocks that has been doing good but not great, especially relative to some other high flyers this year like Nvidia. Either way, Apple actually broke past its all-time high on Friday, even with the early close, which is great to see, and they've just had a lot of strong bullish momentum in the short term. This stock has been uptrending pretty consistently, basically all throughout the month of November, and it's getting to that point where it's picking up its momentum. This stock will definitely be on watch for potential day trades and scalps, and the more continuous pressure it can put on its highs, the more bullish momentum and price action that it will attract. So either way, it's definitely on my radar, and I like the fact that this one's moving in a more and more volatile way in the short term.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's breaking all-time highs. The SPY's breaking all-time highs. We're seeing a lot of good momentum and breakouts in the short term. I'll definitely keep watching it for a bigger push. I am with you on this one. With my first setup, I'm looking at Lemonade to the upside. We were looking at this one to the upside a couple weeks ago. It's still moving in a pretty good way. On Friday, it tried to run up and retest these recent highs, so I'm really going to have these highs on watch for this week overall. This doesn't mean that we necessarily have to see the move or breakout happen on Monday, but I'm really looking for that recent high to break right around 53.90. So I'm going to even place an alert here right around like 53.90, 53.88. If it hits, I'll be alerted, and if we get the breakout, that's where the entry will be this week. Like I said, though, it'll be on watch almost all week. Even if it doesn't break out Monday, I'm going to be patient and wait for the break there. There is even a good support right around 47. If we see that break down, you can maybe get bearish with it, but overall, I'm looking for the breakout here.
All right, sounds good. Another stock that is definitely on the radar is GM. We talked about this one a little bit last week and how they were falling with the tariff news between Mexico and Canada. Basically, GM sold off a decent amount on Tuesday with that news, and it has been holding its ground ever since, but it does have some very important support lined up at this $55 area. If we see a break through this support area, this stock will definitely be on my bearish radar, where the more consistent pressure it puts on its lows, the weaker the stock becomes and the easier it is to fall. This $55 area of support will be important, and the price action that it has will say a lot. Either way, GM is on my bearish radar. The stock has been doing pretty well over the whole year, and it does have some key risks for its business coming up if we do see tariffs go through, especially to Mexico. So this one will be interesting in the short term.
There's definitely been a lot going on with GM in the short term. I'll be watching that $55 support very closely as well in the short term. With my next setup, I'm looking at Coinbase to the downside. There's some major resistance and support on this stock, and you can see it's been kind of stuck right between here. So for resistance, I'm watching right around 315 to 316. You can see there's even like a good double top in the short term right around there. As support, we're watching 290 and 288 very, very close in the short term. If we go to the Bookmap, one really cool thing about this is that at that 288 to 290 mark, you can tell that it's a pretty decent buy wall, but there's not the most buyers stacked up there, right? The really cool thing about Coinbase's heat map here from Friday, which if you didn't know, whenever we're looking at this on the Bookmap, this is the heat map, what we're looking at here that shows us the liquidity hitting the market and everything. Overhead, there's a lot more sellers hitting the market right now than there are buyers. You can tell all those massive sell walls are stacked up, but there's not really any massive buy walls. So that's a big worry for me in the short term with Coinbase. So if I do see that 288 to 290 support give out, I will look at it in a much more bearish way. So I'll definitely be waiting for that breakdown, but shout out to Bookmap here for showing us where the liquidity is.
Yeah, big time. And like you said, there are some serious sell walls overhead. So that will definitely be worth keeping in mind. So good stuff there. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Fubo to the upside.
FUBO, nice move on Friday. If they're able to break above the recent resistance right around $1.63, keep watching it up.
All right, with the next one, we have Wolf, also to the upside.
WULF, if they are able to break out of $8.10, keep watching them up. I like how they're testing $8 here.
And with the last one, we have SMCI to the downside.
Oh no, not back to the downside, but look at that move on Friday. Another pretty bad drop out of them. If they're able to fall under this wick after the market opened right around $31, then keep watching them down.
All right, so we have the downside level on SMCI, and then we have the upside levels on Wolf and FUBO. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential momentum plays if and only if they break through the levels listed. The stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better they become. If they don't break the levels listed, then don't force the setups. These stocks are volatile, so be happy to adjust and flow with the trend changes. Bag holding is the worst thing you could do for any setup, especially momentum-driven ones. So definitely keep these ones on the radar, and let's jump right into today's $1 million big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol TEVA. So this one is an especially interesting big money play because it was a back-to-back one from the most recent video. Basically, on Friday, we saw the big money put a little bit over $1 million into some TEVA 25 strike call options that expire on June 20th of 2025. For my advanced traders out there, this was technically a call debit spread where the big money also shorted the 30 strike call options as well. So keep that in mind. Either way, this is a bullish trade where the big money wants this stock to go up. Understand that TEVA is a pharmaceutical stock and it's pretty volatile. It has been doing good over the past couple of years, which is good to see, but these stocks are volatile, so keep that in mind. I like the reward to risk trading this setup, but of course, with any pharmaceutical stock, they are susceptible to big moves, especially with like FDA drug approvals and events like that. This setup will be very interesting, and I'm excited to see how it does, but let's also keep in mind there's a lot of time to this play as well.
Yeah, there really is. All the way out to June 20th. That's quite a bit there. So it's definitely a big play, too. About $1 million into this one. It is the 25 strike, too, which does worry me on TEVA. So I don't know. This play, I would say out of some of the recent big money plays, I would say it scares me a little bit more than some of the others considering that, but there is a good amount of time. Either way, I'll be watching TEVA very closely, and I'll be watching this key support here on the daily right around $15.80 to $16, where we've seen quite a few bounces in the past. If it ends up breaking this, that could be a good area to stop out at, because obviously if we break that, we might end up, filling the gap back down, so that'll be something to watch for. But I'll be watching for that support to hold up. It's been pretty consistent here over the past year or so.
No doubt. All right, so we'll keep a close eye on this one going forward, but we also have to give a mega shout out to today's member of the day, Minsung0320, who had a great post in the Profits channel, making nearly $16,000 with Archer. So huge shout out to you, Minsung. Keep up the great work going forward. And Tom, people have been crushing it with Archer lately, which has been so awesome to see. That was one of the craziest plays in a long, long time, and I know people hit it out of the park in the trading floor with that big money play. So if you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Our Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal will not be going on much longer. You get full access to all big money trades, our army of custom bots, our weekly live events. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long and access everything you need as a short-term trader. It is the place to be, and it has been a hell of a month, especially with this Archer movement. So if you want in, now's the time. It's that first link in the description and the comments down below. This is how to get the best deal possible for the trading floor. So definitely check that out. But overall, I'm very excited for the week. There's a lot going on in the market right now, whether it's the crypto side of things, whether it is the market as a whole, whether it's earnings, economic events, or anything else. I think we're set for a pretty exciting week. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. We post all the time and cover everything you have to know in usually 20 to 25 minutes. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market this week.